I get the question all the time, Jay, how in the world do you have $8.5 million of private money at your disposal, 47 private lenders? How do you have that? And you say you've never asked anybody for money. And I haven't. That's the mind. I've never asked anybody for money. They say, well, how do you get it? Here's the answer. Put on your teacher hat.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Jay, thank you for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Head of Partnerships, Matt Kamp with Deal Machine. And on these, we really like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories, and really help you educate our audience on the lessons you've learned over the years. So really excited today to welcome on the one and only Jay Conner, real estate investor for 20 years now, rehabbed over 450 houses, involved in over $50 million in real estate transactions. National speaker, author on, raising private money, business automation, all kinds of topics like that. And then you yourself, you've built your business where you can have, really built automation around it and only have to spend like 10 hours a week on the real estate side if you want to. So, Jay, plenty to dig into there. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you so much for inviting me to come on to talk about my favorite subject that I'm most passionate about, and that's private money for real estate.
Oh yeah. That's what I really want to dig into today, like how to raise private money without asking for it. You're truly a master at that. So, before we get into that, could you even talk to our audience, because we do have a lot of newbies kind of getting started on their real estate journey. Can you talk through what that was like for you and how you got into real estate like that?
Absolutely. So I was actually raised in the business of helping families own affordable housing. So I was raised in the manufactured housing industry, also known as mobile homes. Way back when they used to call them trailers, right? And so anyway, in 2003 is when Carol Joy, my wife, and I went full-time. We went full-time investing in single-family houses. But leading up to that, for many years in the manufactured housing business, well, in 2002, first part of 2003, just all the retail finance went away for the product of mobile homes. So I knew if I ever got out of the manufactured housing business, I wanted to get into investing in single family houses. And so that's what we did. So the first 6 years, Matt, that we were in the business, all I knew to do to fund our deals was go to the local bank, borrow money, or from mortgage companies. And that's how we funded our deals for the first 6 years. And then in January of 2009, after being in the business for 6 years, I've called up my banker, and I had 2 houses under contract to fund. And I learned very quickly, Matt, that my funding had been closed. I mean, I had no line of credit. Well, I didn't know there was a global financial crisis going on at the time until now. I got a crisis going on, and I couldn't fund my deals. And so I learned about private money very, very quickly. I'd never heard of private money until I needed it. And, it's funny how that works, Matt. I mean, the growth and the exponential growth takes place when you got problems going on, right? I mean, COVID came along, and along with COVID, look how much opportunity came along with that as well. And so I learned about private money. I raised over $2 million in less than 90 days when I lost my funding at the bank. And since that time, I've never missed out on a deal for not having the funding for my real estate deals.
Yeah, that's inspiring. I mean, and you're absolutely right. When you've got your back against the wall, a lot of times that's when you're going to learn most and be able to kind of take your own personal game to the next level. So,
if it hadn't been for that experience, Matt, you and I wouldn't be visiting here, on the Deal Machine show, right?
Absolutely.
Because, I didn't become an expert in private money until I was in a situation that forced me to I either had to quit or I had to find a better way. and quitting wasn't an option for me. So, that I came up with a mantra that day when I lost my line of credit at the bank, and I was talking to my banker on the phone. And that mantra was, it's impossible for you to fail until you choose to quit. And so, that was the biggest, that situation and that scenario was the biggest blessing in disguise at the time that it happened.
Yeah, that mantra really resonates with our audience as well, because I mean we're really trying to preach to people as well of like, hey, to go find your first deal or your next deal, it's a numbers game, and so many people it's going to take they might get lucky and get right place right time. One of the first batch of leads they reach out to might be that deal, but a lot of people, it is a little bit of a grind there, trying to put in that hard work and that hustle and get out there and try to talk to sellers, and you never know when that next conversation is going to happen. That can be that first deal. So really, like you said, hey, you don't you don't lose until you quit, right? So
that's right.
Yeah. Well, private money, like you said, I mean, you are, truly one of the world experts in this niche. I would love to hear a deep dive on this subject. So, can you maybe start off like defining private money? What are some advantages of it? Like, why would you consider, going with that as an investor? Can you kind of talk through just some of the basics there for us?
Sure. So I'm glad we're starting with what is my definition of private money or a private lender. So I'm not talking about hard money brokers. Now, I've got some great friends that have hard money brokerages that real estate investors borrow money from. But in this world of private money, I'm not talking about that. You see, with hard money brokerage, what the hard money lender has done is they create a fund. They go out and raise money from private lenders that invest in the fund to get a return. Well, those private lenders that are investing in a hard money lender's fund, those are the people I'm talking about actually doing direct business with. So a private lender is a human being that, just like you or me, that loans their money from either their investment capital and or their retirement funds. There's a writer downer right there. I'd never heard about self-directed IRAs until I lost my line of credit at the bank as well. And so, an actionable item for a new real estate investor that's wanting to raise private money is establish a relationship with a self-directed IRA company, so that when you're talking with someone about potentially being a private lender and they have retirement funds and they're not happy with their rate of returns, then you can introduce them to your self-directed IRA company representative. They can transfer their funds over penalty-free, tax-free, and invest in your real estate deals. So a private lender is just an individual that's loaning money from their investment capital and or their retirement funds to us, the real estate investor. So the private lender does not own any of the properties, right? This is not joint venturing, right? This is not joint venturing. The private lender acts in the same capacity as a bank or a traditional mortgage lender would, and they get the same protection as a lender would as well, such as, we're not borrowing unsecured funds. The notes are collateralized by the real estate that we're buying.
Love it. Yeah. Can you maybe talk through what that initial conversation with kind of that private lender might look like? Like, why would they be interested in this deal, and kind of how do you approach it, as on the investor side?
Sure. Well, let me start with the different categories of private lenders. Like, where are these people? Like, where are they? Like, where do you find these people? Well, there's three primary categories, and I call these categories of private lenders. Number one, your warm market. Those are people that you've got some kind of relationship with, some kind of influence, some kind of connection. The second category is I call what your expanded warm market. Sometimes people say, well, Jay, I don't have a very big network. Well, I teach you how to grow your network. I say the more money you wallow in, the more money sticks to you. So expand your network, because your network is in direct correlation with your net worth. The third category of private lenders are what we call existing private lenders. Those are individuals that are already loaning money out to real estate investors. So the question is, where do you find those people? So if I may, Matt, let me go back to the first category, your own warm market. Well, my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we've got 47 private lenders right now, individuals that are investing in our deals, loaning us money. They don't get any profit from the deal. They just get a straight return on their investment, just like the bank would, right? So these people, you know, when I lost my lines of credit back in 2009, like I was saying, what did I do? How do you approach these people? Well, first, Matt, we need to start with our mindset. Okay. The mindset is I get the question all the time, Jay, how in the world do you have $8.5 million of private money at your disposal, 47 private lenders? How do you have that? And you say you've never asked anybody for money. And I haven't. That's the mind. I've never asked anybody for money. They say, well, how do you get it? Here's the answer. Put on your teacher hat. You are a teacher. Now, this relates directly to your warm market, people that you have some kind of association with. So what I mean by putting on your teacher hat is you teach people in your network. They're in your cell phone, family, friends. Who do you go to church with? Who's in the Rotary Club? Again, if you got a contact in your cell phone, they are a potential private lender. How about your social media networks, your Facebook friends? And I'm not talking about your fake Facebook friends. I'm talking about people that you actually know, your Instagram connections. All right. So you, first of all, here's the first step in the warm market. First of all, make your list. Make your list. And I say make your top 50 list. And you say, well, Jay, who should go on my list that I'm going to contact? Oh, by the way, Matt, the worst time in the world to be attracting and raising private money is when you need it for a deal. That's the worst time to be raising private money. So anyway, make your list. Well, who should be on your list? Well, every person that you know that's retired should be on your list, because there's a good chance a retired person has got retirement funds, laying around. And my lands, how about the volatility in the stock market over the last, year, few months? Crazy. They're looking for a reliable, steady return. Make your list out of your contacts. Then what are you going to do? How do you start a conversation with someone? And I tell you what, I love did you know questions. Did you know questions? One of my favorite did you know questions is, when you're talking with anyone, is, did you know there's a way people can earn unlimited money per year tax-free? And of course, they're not going to know the answer to that question. Well, the answer to the question is, if someone's got a Roth IRA and they transfer it over to a self-directed IRA company, there's no limit to the money they can earn per year, and that's tax-free. Regardless of the retirement account they've got, they're going to earn it at least tax-deferred, right? So that leads into a conversation about private money, self-directed IRAs, etc. So how do I get funding without ever asking anybody for money? Well, as I just said, put on your teacher hat. Well, what are you going to teach them? You're going to teach them what private money is, and you're going to teach them your private lending program. You see, the old traditional way of borrowing money is you go to the bank, you get on your hands and knees, you put your hands underneath your chin, and you go, please fund my deal. Please fund my deal. That's not this world. That is not this world. We're not asking somebody to fund the mortgage. We're offering a mortgage. So you teach a program. You say, well, Jay, I don't have a private lending program. Well, just duplicate mine. And don't worry, I'm going to give you mine before Matt shuts down this show. I'm going to give you my private lending program. What's the interest rate, that I give them? How can they get their money back in 90 days or whatever? So I teach them. So, Matt, let's say you're one of my new private lenders. I've taught you my private lending program. You see, what I love about private money is that you make the rules. The bank ain't making the rules. The lender's not making the rules. It's your program that you're teaching and that you're offering. And so, Matt, let's say you're a new private lender with me, and let's say you got $250,000 that you want to invest with me. Well, here's exactly the script. I'm going to give the script right now as to exactly what I say when I pick up the phone. Actually, we still have landlines here in North Carolina with handsets. Can you believe that? So Matt's my new private lender, and I call him up, and here's the script. I say, Matt, I've got great news for you. I can now put your money to work. I've got a house over here in Newport with an after repaired value of $200,000. The funding required is $150,000. Now, side note, I already know Matt's got $150,000. He already told me. You see, I didn't pitch him with a deal in the same conversation as teaching him my private lending program.
Mm-hmm.
Never do that, because you sound like you're begging, even if you don't want to sound like you're begging. So I call up Matt. I got a house in Newport, 200. I got great news. After repaired value, $200,000. The funding required for this deal is $150,000. Closing is next Friday. I need for you to wire your funds to my real estate attorney by next Thursday. I'm going to have my attorney email you the wiring instructions. End of conversation. The most stupid thing I could do, Matt, is ask you if you want to fund the deal. Well, of course you want to fund the deal. You've been waiting for the phone call, particularly if you're using your retirement funds, and I introduced you to my self-directed IRA representative, and you've already moved your money over. You're waiting for the phone call for me to put your funds to work. So again, you see that whole positioning? Mm-hmm. I'm not chasing. I'm not begging. I'm not selling. Separate the act. I teach you the private lending program. I teach you what private money is. I teach you about self-directed IRAs, and you say, great, love it, let's go, right? I don't even ask you if you want to get involved. I mean, you're going to want to get involved. Where else can you get these kind of high rates of return safely and securely? I call you up, and I tell you it's now time to go. That's simple.
Yeah, amazing. So, and when you actually close on that deal, what are the documents like? What's the paperwork look like to be able to execute on a deal like that?
Sure. So it's very, very simple. The closing documents are about that thick. I mean, I'm like, it's like less than a quarter of an inch thick. Here are the documents. You have a promissory note, which is very, very, by the way, these documents are prepared by your real estate attorney, regardless of what state that you are doing business in. So you got the promissory note, very, very simple. That just lays out who's the borrower, who's the lender, what's the interest rate, principal loan amount, frequency of payments, etc. And that document is no more than a page and a half long. And then you have either the deed of trust or the mortgage. Depends on the state that you're doing business in. It's the same thing. It is the document that collateralizes that note and protects the private lender. We are not borrowing unsecured funds. We're going to protect the lender. And then, of course, you have the insurance policy. And on the insurance policy, the private lender is named as the mortgagee. That protects the lender because anytime that you would put a claim against that insurance policy, the check's going to be made payable to the lender and you, therefore protecting the lender. And we're also going to name the private lender on the title insurance policy as an additional insured on that policy. So those are the documents. But Matt, a minute ago, you asked me and I didn't answer. What is it that I love about private money and what makes it so different from borrowing from the bank, right? Oh, my lands, Matt. The list is so long. Number one, I never take any of my own money to closing. I get a check. I bring home a check every time I buy, right? Well, the old way of borrowing money is I had to take money to the closing table. My favorite phrase of my real estate attorney's check stub is excess cash to close. And I love me some excess cash, right? So I bring home a check. My credit score's got nothing to do. There's no application process at all. I get multiple checks on every transaction. We can structure deals to where we make no monthly payments and just let the interest accrue. I mean, my land, you think that'll help you cash flow? Bring home a big check when you buy because I borrow more than I need to buy. And by the way, private money is not only for rehabbing. Private money is when the seller requires all the cash, which is in the majority of the cases. So using private money puts you in control in the driver's seat of your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of going to, you touched on it a little bit there, but I was going to ask, are there any limitations to the types of deals that you're doing with this private money?
So private money, you can use private money on any kind of real estate, single family houses, any kind of commercial, self-storage, apartments, right? I've got a friend that has got an office building all funded with private money. So any kind of real estate, land, if you're just doing land, you can use private money for your land deals as well.
Awesome. Love it. This is a phenomenal crash course. I really appreciate this, Jay. The other piece I was going to ask you about as well, I know you know, when it comes to business automation, that's a subject that you are passionate about and have clearly, practiced and executed to a very skillful degree. Can you maybe talk through that as well, for somebody who, maybe they're real estate, they're newer, but they're starting to get some traction. They're starting to grow a little bit. How can they think through where to start when it comes to, automation and the process and kind of playbook that you think through?
Sure. Well, the first step in automation is getting your team in place. Getting your team in place. So who are the team members that you need in order to have a relationship with? And until you have these team members, you're really not in business. As I said, the worst time in the world to be attracting and raising private money is when you need it for a deal. Well, I'll tell you another example of that. The worst time to be looking for a real estate attorney is when you've got a deal that you want your real estate attorney to take care of for you, right? So you want to get these team members in place that will automate your business. So let me give you the team members. So this is a writer downer. The team members to get started is number one, real estate attorney. And I don't care if you're in a state such as California and a bunch of others that uses title companies or escrow companies to close, you're going to need your real estate attorney to prepare the closing documents, because a title company has no idea how to prepare closing documents. They have closing packages sent to them, and then they close the deal. So real estate attorney, you got to have that relationship. My real estate attorney checks all my titles before I make an offer on a house, or before I close rather, to make sure it's, free of liens and et cetera. So your real estate attorney relationship is critical. Secondly, realtor. You got to have a relationship with a realtor. And what are you going to do with that realtor? Well, your realtor is going to check all of your comps, going to give you your comparative market analysis. I get all of mine within 24 business hours. I make all of my offers on properties that are in the MLS through this same realtor, right? It's all about the relationship. If I'm buying a bank-owned property, I'm not going to make my offer through the listing agent. I'm going to make my offer through my realtor that I've got my relationship with, because the seller is going to be paying the realtors anyway. So your realtor relationship is critical. And then thirdly, you got your real estate attorney, you got your realtor. And then thirdly, if you're going to be buying properties that need any kind of renovations, then you definitely want to have a home inspector, get that done before you close. And if it's a really, really high-end property, I want a relationship with an appraiser. So automation, first of all, is get your team members in place. Now, once you get your business up and running, if you really want to automate your business, Matt, I'm blessed to net over 7 figures a year, and I'm in this business, actually working in this business, maybe 5 hours a week, maybe 5 hours a week. It's because of the team. So a critical part of my team that really automates this business for me is my acquisitionist. My acquisitionist has been with me for 15 years now. I make all the decisions on what properties that I want to invest in and how much I want to offer. But my acquisitionist does all the communicating with the sellers, right? I haven't talked with a seller in years. And since I sell some homes on rent to own as well, my acquisitionist also serves and communicates with our potential rent to own buyers. So acquisitionist is huge. So, one problem that I see new real estate investors, when they get in, they don't get out of their own way. So if you really want to automate your business and work towards the end of only doing what you enjoy doing and get out of the way, right? One question I was asked on a show recently, Matt, was, well, Jay, what should real estate investors do less of? I said about 90% of what they're doing, they should do less of. So get to the point of doing what you only love to do and that you're good at. automate the rest. How do I automate? Virtual assistants. Virtual assistants are very, very important in automating the business. I have virtual assistants that do nothing but my Facebook ads. I have another virtual assistant that does nothing but my Google pay-per-click ad. And then finally, Matt, how do you automate your business? You can't run this business on paper, right? You got to have a great CRM, a customer relationship management program. And so where all of your leads, your seller leads, go into the CRM to where your entire team can see where we are in the process on that lead.
Yeah. And when you have your team in place and you have the VAs in place as well, do you have any tips or advice there on how to really train up and build systems and processes for them to execute and through your years of doing this?
Absolutely. And I know this from experience. So when you're looking to hire a virtual assistant for your real estate business, go to a company that's what they do. Go to a company that has got virtual assistants that they train in this space of seller leads and the CRM that you use. You want to make sure the virtual assistant company can integrate with the customer relationship management software that you're using. So don't just put a Craigslist ad out there or just don't post on Facebook. I say go to the experts that have already got this training in place.
Love it. Yeah. And I mean, I love your answers. Hey, how do you automate and delegate more? Well, go to the experts and automate and delegate to them, So I think that's a good mindset on how to approach the entire business. But
well, here's the boiled down answer on how to automate. Delegate. So delegate, disappear, show back up. So it's first dictate, delegate, disappear, but don't let it run on automatic. You got to have accountability points in place to make sure people are doing their job.
Love it. Jay, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking time out for educating our audience, for really running them through, especially the private money piece too, of how to approach that, even as a newer investor. You kind of hinted at a couple of resources there. Is there anything you can share with our audience on the private money side? Is it
Absolutely, Matt.
Yeah.
I've got a free gift, absolutely free for your viewers. And that is, I have got my private money guide that you can download, and it's called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business and help you build incredible wealth. You can download it at Jay Conner, and I'm an ER, by the way, not an OR. So you can download it at Jay Conner, JayConner.com/money guide. JayConner.com/money guide. This will get you on the fast track to getting all the private money that you need and want for your deals.
Fantastic. So we'll make sure to link to that below here. We'll also link to our resources. We've got some resources on scaling your real estate business and things like that we'll link to as well. But Jay, thank you so much again. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Matt, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. And to everyone watching, this is Matt Kamp over here with Deal Machine, and happy deal finding.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jayconner.com/money guide. That's JCONNER.com/money guide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jayconner.com/money guide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.